Good evening, everyone. And it is evening. It's about 9:30 at night. I'm obviously still at work and on my way to my delivery here. I finished the second book in the Hunter series, written by Mercedes Lackey, narrated by Amy Landon. The name of the book is Elite. And I want to right off the bat, get out of the way the one major problem that I had with this book. The series is about this young lady named Joyu. In the first book, we're introduced to her. She's a country girl raised in a monastery in a post-apocalyptic world. When the apocalypse happened, all of a sudden, monsters from mythology became real, and they devastated the earth. At the same time, humans with magical ability appeared on the earth, and these magical hounds that would come through portals to aid certain particular humans appeared, and these people were hunters. Well, the community she comes from, everyone is raised from a teeny tiny age to hunt the monsters, whether you have magical abilities or hounds or not. Then Joyu gets hounds, gets magical abilities, gets sent off to the big city to become a hunter. The first book goes through all of that she goes through, and she's a very mature, very well-rounded teenage girl. She battles monsters that no one else has battled and survived. She survives a couple of attempts on her life. She manages to outmaneuver some political opponents of her uncle who called her there. But then we get to book 2. She's now what is called an elite hunter. And all of a sudden, she's a basket case. I mean, the girl spends half the book crying. At one point, she's in the middle of a battle, and she starts crying, and it's not because she saw someone killed. It's not because she saw something horrific. It's just all of a sudden she's terrified into hysterical crying. And she's still fighting, but she's also crying, and she can't even hardly see what she's doing. And it's just... You've got this girl that spent her entire life in these battles. And in the previous book, she had multiple battles that had everyone around her terrified, thinking they're all going to die. And she remains calm, cool, and collective and saves the day. And then in this book, she's the one that's all of a sudden breaking down and can't handle things. But then at the same time, there are situations that would cause... I mean, I had 3 sisters growing up. I've been married for 25 years. I've got 24 nieces and nephews. Half of them are nieces. So, I've been around teenage girls, and she's in situations where a typical teenager girl would break down, and she's calm. She's cool, she's collected, she's strong, she's good to go. At one point her boyfriend dumps her, and 5-10 minutes later she's being accused of murdering 4 people. And she remains calm, doesn't let it faze her at all. But then in the middle of a battle, which is something she's done 1,000 times before, she's breaking down crying. So, there's my rant. There's the one thing I really disliked about the movie, or about the book, I mean. But that being said, I couldn't put the book down. Excellent book. The development of her new friends, the new group that she gets into. There are some mysteries from the first book that weren't answered that get answered. There are some mysteries from the first book that didn't get answered, and rather than getting answered in the second book, they just get a little deeper, get a little bit more mysterious. There's a main bad guy who in the first book tried to kill her. Now in the second book he escapes, and you think that he's going to become a major factor in this second book. He's a major factor in the fact that she's terrified and has multiple emotional breakdowns because this guy is now loose, even though he's not loose in the city they're in. He's out nowhere, and she battles drakens and gorgons and all these other things, and they don't scare her, but she breaks down weeping and crying. That drove me nuts. That it didn't fit with her character. It really didn't fit with her character. But then in the end, she ends up facing and defeating him. She ends up discovering abilities that no one has known that everyone can do. There was a character in the first book that even though the relationship between Joyu and his name is Mark was always put off as more of a brother-sister kind of a relationship, you still almost wondered if maybe something would happen that would cause theirs to turn into a romance, and you really actually kind of hoped that they wouldn't do that, and the author doesn't do that. Mark ends up getting married, so there's some tension between her and Mark's wife, and that actually is in character and fits. I think the author could have done more with that. Mark's wife ends up adapting to the city very quickly, and it's interesting because Mark and his wife are both from this religious group. There's one other thing about this world that Mercedes Lackey has created that I don't much like, and that is that post-apocalyptic, every religion in the world gets along, except for one. And in that one religion, absolutely everybody in that religion is difficult to get along with. Miserable, ungrateful. They even, this religious group tried to destroy the world. It's an element I don't really like. If it had been an extremist wing of this religious group, this is a major religious group, and I got news for you, Mercedes Lackey. Not every Muslim is a terrorist. Not every Christian is a crusader. Not every Jehovah's Witness is leaving tracts in the bathrooms of rest areas. You can't take an entire religion, especially one of this size, and just make everyone in it exactly the same. It doesn't work that way, especially not when absolutely everyone else in every other religion is able to get along so well. And Mark is from this religion. The girl he marries is from this religion. And if this religion were as bad as Mercedes has it portrayed in this book, then Mark's wife would have a really hard time making the adjustment. And she adjusts very quickly. And she adjusts very well. So there's some inconsistencies in the book that annoy me, just drive me nuts. But at the same time, both books were so good, I couldn't put them down. I had to finish them. As soon as I got a credit, I had to use that credit to get a lead. I will be hanging on to these books. I will be listening to these two books again. I have no doubt those inconsistencies or whatever they are will continue to bother me when I listen to the book, And at the same time, I have no doubt that I will continue to enjoy them just as much as I enjoyed them this time. And when the third book comes out, right now the third book isn't out there. The way it was left, there will definitely be a third, if not fourth, fifth, sixth, who knows how many books. But when that third book comes out, I will be adding it to my collection. And if you are a fan of post-apocalyptic style young adult or young teen style books, the Divergent series, only this one has more of a magical monster side to it. But if you're a fan of books like that, highly recommend it. It is an excellent book and an excellent read. You have a nice day.